Hey everyone, welcome to Tales from the Pros, and this is Michael Giorgio, your host and co-founder of Imagine Ovation. My special guest with me here today is an award-winning author, speaker, and founder of Ensere, and recently recognized as the UK's national top 10 entrepreneur and innovator for some of the innovative and disruptive solutions within both the e-commerce and 3D printing space. He was also recognized as UK's under 35 top new talent by industry-leading publications. Please welcome Sahaj Kothari. This is Tales from the Pros, where business leaders and influencers share their stories of inspiration, struggles, and successes. And I'm your host, Michael Giorgio. Sahaj, I really appreciate you being with me here today, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely.
Super excited to be here as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, Sahaj, we've been connecting on LinkedIn a little bit and trying to find, get a good time for you to be on this podcast. So again, I really appreciate you being with me here today.
My pleasure.
So I originally saw you, as I mentioned, on LinkedIn and found you very interesting regarding just overall entrepreneurship and business and e-commerce marketing as well. But what really intrigued me was you being recognized as a top 10 entrepreneur in the UK. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into this position and maybe just give us a little background on your story?
Oh, it's a big question and an interesting one as well. So my background as a career, so I live in London. I studied here from university. I went through jobs through Procter & Gamble, Ernst & Young, pretty much very close to consumer brands, consumer products. For me, from the day one, joining Procter & Gamble, I had some passion for products, like physical products, because that inspires and touches human lives every day in a large number of kind of scenarios. So that's where it started off in passion. And about 3 or 4 years ago, for fortunate or unfortunate reasons, the company I was working for went almost under. Now, at the time, it was a very, very difficult situation. My mortgage was down. We had just moved to a new house. Everything was tied up, and I hardly had like 2 or 3 months of kind of survival kit in my bank, in that sense. So I think, but something was inside me. It's like, you know what? I need to do something on my own. Maybe this is a good reason, excuse to get on with it. And I started off my journey like everyone, entrepreneurs, like super excited about what entrepreneurship is. I was completely naive. I had no clue what entrepreneurship is, except that it sounded so cool, and it just sounded some element of freedom. Like, I'm my own boss. I can decide on whatever. Long story short, again, details for some other time, but it really didn't go well for the first year. It was to the point I had big debts on my credit cards. I just didn't want to go back to a job. But what that allowed me to explore is through failures and multiple failures is kind of what worked and what didn't. I pretty much learned to survive, you need to really disrupt. You need to really disrupt the market, be very, very different. One of my coach said, don't drown in the sea of sameness. I love that quote. So that's what started off my kind of journey. Okay, how do I really disrupt something that already exists? And that's where I kind of stumbled upon e-commerce. It was obviously trending and everything, and my previous life was helping brands to win in the retail space, and they were struggling, and that's kicked me off to think about how e-commerce can help them create a completely new way of connecting and building sales channels and platform, which learning from the likes of Amazon or Netflix. How can brands learn from them and adopt them from it? And that journey started off, and similarly, parallelly, there's another company we established called Make in 3D. 3D printing, that keeps me awake at night. I'm super excited. So we had an R&D team in Bangalore. So this was in Asia.
Hmm.
We were super excited, like, kind of working on disrupting the kind of 3D printing industry. How it's going to change the world and everything. But through that experience, we had the chance to work with companies like Mercedes-Benz, like improving their engine efficiency, or helping someone restore their broken joint who was shot in his face, or working with companies like ISRO, who is kind of Indian version of NASA, and they are the fastest growing space programs in the world, and helping them help improve their kind of designs and engines and rockets, and that's what started getting traction in the market space, and what we're doing and how we're doing. Uh,
Wow.
that got a traction in the local market in our merchant chamber, and then nationally UK for some. I think one of my passions and vision in this 3D printing space is, how can we create affordable homes within less than $2,000 in one day for it. That is huge, and that will take some time, but that's what we are on the journey to make it happen. So big dreams on the path.
Yeah. No, that's great. And so for you be recognized as one of the top entrepreneurs, up and coming just leaders in the UK, how did you get recognized for that award? What happened?
It's kind of organic. So in the second year of the business, we were recognized by the local chamber of commerce, and kind of I live in the Wimbledon area of London, and there's kind of different boroughs,
Right.
and we had an office of kind of co-working space at the time. It was kind of starting it off, so kind of word of mouth. There was so chamber of commerce got hold of us and kind of said, okay, you have something to share. You're doing something interesting. You should apply for this award and share us more information. So they asked some more information about what I did. And it's one of those, like, because you're working in such silos and you're working your own, you don't know if how you're calibrated across the market. Are you good or bad or average? And that in the second year, I came kind of best new business award, and second in entrepreneur of the year award locally. And the following year, all the winners from small boroughs were then competing against at a national level. So I think
Hmm.
that the local then went to national, and that's where it got tracked for us, so, which was awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic to hear that. And I know now that you're also the founder of Ensere, and we definitely want to talk about your company that you're currently running.
Mhm.
Can you give us a better understanding of what Ensere does, and how you help B2C companies sell and distribute their physical products online?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest challenge I see in today's marketplace is, the traditional route of going to market for, brands with physical product is really, really challenging. The times of going to a distributor, to a wholesaler, to a retailer. The retail itself is a very challenging environment, and it's not encouraging new brands, new product lines to be tested, and etc. And my previous career life was helping brands win the retail space, so I know exactly how difficult that was. So that is one side of the coin. The other side of the coin, that we were looking at, companies like Casper. Casper is a bed. They sell mattresses. They sell bed mattresses, and they
Hmm.
were growing at 60% and 70%, while the counterparts in retail were going at 1 or 2%. Like, there's a massive difference in terms of how e-commerce approach. Companies having e-commerce solutions drive growth, and the retail space and consumer goods space were really struggling with growth, especially in UK and Europe. Um, and that's how we started our journey and kind of approaching it. And the way we help is, if someone has amazingly good products, we can help them brand it online, market for them online, sell for them online, and help distribute across 26 markets in Europe. Now, all of a sudden, instead of knocking doors on the retailers or distributors or wholesalers, you create your own shop, own channel that you control, that you decide how you want to go to market, you decide how you want to connect to your consumers, you decide how much you want to sell, what products you want to sell, and so forth. So almost kind of a digital arm of the business, for these brands.
So you created a massive opportunity. You're creating all these, I would call them digital opportunities for these physical product companies to sell their things online. That's pretty amazing.
Hmm. It's been great. Uh, and some of the feedback that we have seen, companies they're trying to get into the retail space, and all of a sudden you have this new channel which are kind of growing into multi-million pound businesses annually and that you control. For me, it's not just about growth, because the foundational layer is, from the likes of Amazon or Netflix that we've learned, the consumers are evolving, right? So it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
just about growth, it's about survival in 5, 10, 15 years' time, where if you're not having a share or pie of that piece, you might be left behind. The consumers might go kind of vogue on you and and so it's really, really important for brands to understand and appreciate and start building those front end, which is, by the way, almost 10% of the investment required in opening a retail store, which is very, very expensive for it.
Wow. And we all know and love Amazon, or at least I do. I order a lot of things from Amazon
Mm.
and a lot of different products. But in your experience, do you think Amazon is making it harder for product companies to sell online or easier? Has it helped Ensere? Has it made it difficult for you guys? How has Amazon played a role in just overall just e-commerce and selling these products online?
I think the short answer is it's made it super easy. It's made it super easy, approachable, and the infrastructure they have has allowed brands to sell online way beyond what they would ever imagine even 5 or 10 years ago. Um, so you can sell only through your own websites, or you can use marketplaces like Amazon, where it already has a huge following.
Right.
And regardless of what brands and products we sell, I think 70%, 80% of the product lines we test on Amazon first. We see if
Hmm.
the product is working, is it getting a traction, and if it is, that we know that it's a winning product. We can test on your website, but allowing Amazon, who already have a big audience and loyal audience, it's a huge opportunity for brands. And they have something called an FBA, which is they will also do the fulfillment of products themselves. So all of a sudden now, because majority of the traditional brands are not designed for B2C model, they're designed to fill the truck up, send to the distributor or wholesaler, and then from there it goes to the retailer, and kind of the retailers does the magic of selling it to the consumers.
Right.
Right.
And what Amazon allows as a model, you can do something similar. You make sure you're managing your shop online properly. Just send in bulk, and they will do the individual kind of contraction, which takes a huge amount of effort away from individuals. Now, is Amazon right for that particular brand? That is a question, of course, and that's something that needs to be assessed on a case by case. But overall, I think it's opened eyes for consumers and brands of what's possible. And generally, I would say, from my experience, is probably the first stage of the e-commerce if someone wants to kind of to build their empire online.
So
So
you're
you're
really
really
leveraging
leveraging
Amazon
Amazon
for their
for their
supply and
supply and
demand.
demand, the audience, basically understanding the supply and demand for that product, and then based on that data that you get back, that allows you guys to create marketing strategies, right, and create all these different things to help you sell your brand's products.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I think the success criteria for e-commerce is sales. Yeah, if you have sales, tick mark. If you have not sales, not a tick mark, right? So absolutely. So we use Amazon as a kind of stepping ladder of to get the traction to smaller brands or brands that are not well known, and then kind of build on top of that other channels and other marketplaces on your own websites, which you have more control of. So absolutely, Amazon for us and for a lot of brands have done a lot of the right stuff. But again, with everything, it is an opportunity. Unfortunately, 80% of the brands on Amazon do not make it because you need to use it in the right way, and that pretty much goes with everything. But yes, as an opportunity, it's amazing.
That's great. And it's like a lot of companies, these marketing companies that they use, I mean, they leverage Google, right? Obviously, me and you talked a little bit before about SEO and search engine optimization. So a lot of these SEO and these digital marketing firms, they leverage Google heavily, right? Because it's such a
Yeah.
huge platform to be visible online. So you guys leverage Amazon, which is great. Amazon is, I mean, if not one of the biggest companies in the world. So you're using them as a platform to get this data, and then you can create your own strategies and like you mentioned, a digital arm, increasing opportunities to allow these companies to sell their products online, to increase sales.
Yeah, and it's just it's just an easier way to kickstart. Again, the word is
Right,
kickstart.
right.
It really depends on the brands if we want to stay on Amazon or off Amazon. But just to kickstart, absolutely. Just from the facts point of view, Amazon is heavily investing in the back of the business. I mean, we all know, they went and lost it just from a growth. So they're in a massive growth stage, and there's a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
growth to come in. And Amazon, like for example, in UK alone, I think last year it was on a 9 or 10 billion sales that they made UK alone, and they invested 4.5 billion, almost like 45-50% of their revenue
Wow.
back into it. So they are doing a lot of effort to bringing people in, and as long as you ride the wave in the right way, that's a good kickstart for the brands before they can
I love
start
it.
investing on their own front.
I love it. I love it. So, where do you think e-commerce is headed in regards to all the emerging technologies? We all hear about artificial intelligence. Me and you talked a little bit before this interview about blockchain development. But where do you feel e-commerce is headed in regards to all these emerging technologies arising, such as AI? Do you see any major shifts or changes? Anything to be afraid of, or more just to be excited about?
It's a huge opportunity and it's a huge threat. I think, as I said, it's not just about growth; it's about existing in the future, in that sense. So I'm super excited, of course, and it's only going in one direction, upwards. But yes, so it's I have a couple of views on kind of the evolution of e-commerce, something that is already happening, and then I'll talk about something which will start to evolve in 2 or 3, 4 years. So
Yeah,
customization or personalization is one of the biggest success criteria where organizations can be using online. Now, what do I mean by that? The companies like Zara or H&M or kind of big retail stores online, where they're designed in a way that depending on who comes on their websites changes. We customize it for them. And I don't know if you have experience in your own workspace where we have customizations of websites and things based on,
I have.
and,
Yep.
and that is kind of very much accelerating, because of more complex and more demand from consumers. Consumers almost expect brands to relate to them much better than ever before, more closely than ever before. So customization, as soon as you go to a place, brands should already know, and this is where AI and kind of the big data, based on what they've bought before, how they've bought before,
Hmm.
almost recommend, follow up with them. The shop redesigns themselves based on what that person is, and almost it's very very simple things, but kind of these are the small building blocks that then will become huge in the future. Simple things like we sell a lot of supplements, for example, online, and it's like a 1 month course or 2 month course. And once the person has bought it, and let's say after 45 days or 50 days, a system should be able to follow up and say, I see you have kind of used this. You're almost about to run off. Do you want to hit another one? All you have to do is one click, and we'll send it on your way. So the whole experience will be a lot more seamless, personalized, and customized, for that. Now, again, for this element to happen, I think brands needs to build more than just Amazon, because Amazon has the control, has a different view of what that offering is.
That's right.
But this is definitely something that's going to be hot. Even it's more complex to set up, but I think with tools and capabilities, it's going to be easier than it's. Um, the bigger piece, which is going to have, I think, an impact in a much wider way, is I think voice search. I was recently at a conference where the VP of Amazon, the VP of eBay, kind of VP director Europe of Google, and they were coming in, and one theme was very, very consistent to what we're starting to see in the trend. And Alexa coming out, Siri is kind of evolving. Voice search is going to be a very, very dominant force, and they expect within the next 2 or 3 years, voice search could take 30, 40, 50% sometimes in certain categories or certain industries. Now that's huge. Now all of a sudden, where industries and brands are investing into, say, SEO. SEO was hot in 2000. If you have done your SEO right, you made
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like you made it. It's like billboards in 1990, where if it's television,
Right.
you've made it, right? Uh, but SEO is kind of evolved and it's very competitive. Who does it well, kind of great. So that's why voice search, but it's more competitive. For example, if one of the products we sell, for example, is toothpaste, high-end quality toothpaste, or even a skin cleansing product, or baby cleaning product, etc. So let's take an example of toothpaste. If someone is asking Alexa, saying, "Can you buy me a toothpaste?" And unless that Alexa can figure out from his history that what he or she has bought toothpaste, the maximum to maximum Alexa or Siri or someone of that kind are going to suggest one or maximum two recommendations of the product. Maximum two. Ideally one, maximum two. Now, what that means is, in a traditional way, when you're looking on search bars right now, you have floods of page one, page two, page three. Now, even if you focus on page one, there's like more than 10, 15, or on Amazon, it's like 20, 25, 30 options. Now, what that means is brands who get filtered to spot one and two makes it, and the rest don't. So it's going to be very, very highly concentrated competition of what brands are going to be able to leverage and stand and command online. So voice for me is a big, big part, and that combined with AI is a big change.
That is so true. Voice is I mean it's huge. I mean, even me and my company, we're creating some of the voice products. It's just going to be, I really think you're right. I think it's the future. And just yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited for what's to come in voice and how all these companies are going to implement it. But so with you talking about AI, you talked a lot about opportunities and advantages and just exciting things that are coming. Do you see any threats? What are some of the threats that you see with artificial intelligence and just in the e-commerce?
Um, threats in what do you mean? How AI could threaten the evolution
Hmm.
or the success of e-commerce opportunity? Is that what you mean?
Correct. Yep. That's exactly right.
Um, I think the first thing that's coming to my mind is slightly different to this question. Is recently I was privileged to be part of I was invited as a national policy review discussion in House of Commons, government policy, and the reason I'm bringing this is the topic was what is the impact of AI on the broader society and workforce. The big question was, you know, I think there's a lot of common predictions and alignment within that room. So basically, it was experts around UK coming to this one place in the House of Commons and discussing this. And within 20 years, 30 to 40% of the jobs will either completely eradicate or change, and that means a huge level of society impact because of the skill set, because of there's a huge transformation in a very short amount of time. AI, 3D printing, drones, name it. I mean, there's a lot of multiple technologies coming into this as well.
Yeah.
And I can see that evolution happening within e-commerce space, where the human element is going to be is going to start being questioned. And there's already a lot of AI coming in. They'll do the digital marketing for you using bots based on a lot of data and kind of seeing how what works. Amazon is using a lot of AI in their fulfillment options, where the factories are becoming bigger and bigger, but the number of people are significantly reducing in terms of kind of operations and delivery for it. So yeah, from a front end consumer point of view, I can see it becoming more seamless and useful and value add, but it's the kind of the back end. What AI for me is, and I don't have the answer yet, and I think very, very few really will have the answer to this at this point, is what kind of skill set, where, what is the human involvement in this e-commerce space? How will the human align with the delivery of this model and how that will happen in the future? So I think that is a big question. And the only way we can evolve is we just need to keep evolving. Technology is a very fast moving. I mean, if I saw Nokia going down in 5 years, like literally 5 years from the point of tipping, 5 or 7 years, very, very fast. So I think that kind of transformation change is likely to happen in e-commerce as well. So,
Yeah, and I like that answer because I think that we do just have to evolve as well, right? We can't really change that fact that AI is here, and it's also evolving and growing, and it's a technology that's going to be widely used by all these different companies and industries and markets, and I think that we just got to continue to adapt ourselves and pivot and evolve alongside it. And I think if we have that mentality, I think it's also a mental shift. I've interviewed some other people that had very similar answers to what you just said, Sahaj, and I love that because I do think that as long as we evolve and pivot ourselves and adapt, we can create other jobs, right? We may lose some jobs in some other areas, as you mentioned, like in fulfillment and all these other areas, but I think there'll be other opportunities, right, arising. It's hard to say right now what that is.
exactly. And I can see a brighter future, definitely. How and what? My concern is only for individuals who are not that agile, and a majority of the economy, they're very. Our economy is built on the way 100 years ago. Kind of, it's very slowly evolving in terms of marketplaces.
Yeah.
So having a 30-40% workforce, it's going to be a huge challenge socially, workforce, ethically, economically. But absolutely, I think those. So, and one of the big debates in that conversation was, how are schools going to help, and how is the ongoing training culture that the concept of life for job is pretty much will be eradicated very, very soon, if not already in most of the industry. How do we keep going up and up and up and just being agile to evolve with the situation? And if we do, then yeah, absolutely, there's huge.
Yeah, and it was like, you mentioned before the internet, right? I mean, the internet was a huge opportunity and changed changed the face of the planet. Essentially, the internet is massive. We rely on the internet, but people were really scared when the internet it started when the internet was created. It was scaring a lot of people. I remember when when I was talking to my parents about it, and they were even saying that it was just there's all these just talks around the world of threats and things happening and people losing jobs because of the internet. But then they said, you know what? Actually, there'll be a lot of jobs created because of the internet, right? Like developers and all these other the thousands of other jobs that were created because of it. So I think it'll be a shift like that. We just, as we both mentioned and agreed on, that you just got to evolve and adapt and pivot and have that mental just be mentally aware of that too.
Absolutely. Upwards and onwards.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. There you go. That's it. So let's jump a little bit into, the KPI, key performance indicator of sales, right? You guys, we all rely on sales online, all these products trying to sell online, which you guys, you're creating all these digital arms, these opportunities for these companies to do that. So do you feel that generating sales online now, whether it be for brands, is it getting easier or do you think it's getting harder, Sahaj? What are your thoughts on that?
It's getting easier. We talk about this e-commerce as kind of ever evolving. Amazon is growing like massively every month, and I keep talking Amazon just because that's the most common
That's okay.
name or
Yeah.
brand. But talking, another example, company like Casper, for example, I think I mentioned earlier, they sell beds, and they're growing at 60-70%. They've transformed what is the art of possibilities. I think e-commerce really it poses a question for brands. How do you want to be and connect with your brands? How this is your opportunity to redefine who you are and what you can do. Um, and those who do it really, really well makes it, it's a huge transformation. One of the brands that was really struggling to get into UK retailers, for example, and we're still in the early stages of e-commerce. Everything is growing. Very little saturation at this point and across the majority of the industries. Of course, there's competition, but like always, if you do it right, they were selling about €1,000 a month online, and in less than 11 months, they are selling about 100,000, 110,000 euros a month, and we're predicting about 500,000 euros in another 2 years. Now that is a huge incremental, and what that also drives is they were talking to retailers, they were pushing to retailers, please get us in, please get us in. It's the other way around. Like retailers have kind of identified them as like, wow, you're doing something interesting, let's talk. And they're now getting listed into some of the retailers. It's using the opportunity e-commerce, not only from an e-commerce perspective, but also your offline perspective. And super easy. Another piece that brands are using e-commerce, again, for not just online, but offline as well, is digital insights. Now, if someone had a product, say 10, 20 years ago, and they made the product, you go to a distributor, then the wholesaler, then a retailer. By the time you get feedback of what's working, what's not, let's try, let's invest in stores and everything, you're pretty much killed 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
1 or 2 years, you have invested heavily in stocks, you have invested heavily in the retail outlets, investments and demonstration, just to find out, what? The consumers don't like the red color, they like the blue color. And if you could have done the blue color in the first hand, you could have skyrocketed skills 10 times than what it is today. As an example, just a metaphor of a feature of a product or something. Now, what digital opportunity allows is to test your product. I'm constantly working with a lot of brands where it's not just about the existing range. They are creating new product range based on demands that they're seeing online and testing new product concepts in a more controlled environment before going to retail space. So, by understanding and learning what's working and what's not, it significantly increases the chances when they go live in the real space.
I understand. Yeah.
So huge. I mean, Netflix, again, crazy. I still remember an example where when they launched House of Cards, they knew House of Cards would have been a success even before launching it. They connected the best director, the best story writer, script writer, actor. They just combined what worked based on what their audience liked historically, and they just pulled that crew together. It was based on facts, but they knew that is something that's likely to work, and it worked.
It was based on facts, not based on just guesses and based on what they think might work, right? And I like what you said about that, because you can't, a lot of the thing is I've seen some companies that are, that sell physical products, and they're threatened to sell online because it's so saturated, right? Because everybody's selling on, for example, Amazon. Everybody's selling on Amazon. All these companies are selling on Amazon. It's so saturated. It's not, and the thing is, it's not as easy to, you can put your products on Amazon. That's not difficult, but to sell and make money from Amazon is not as easy as it used to be. It's getting harder because there's a lot more competition, as you mentioned. It's a lot more saturated. But I think a lot of it comes down to is understanding your audience, getting the metrics behind it, and making sure that you're targeting your audience effectively with these digital strategies that for example, Ensere is implementing, right? So I agree. I think it is easier if you do it the right way. I think people just need to do their homework and do a lot of research and understanding what they're, who they're actually selling to.
Yeah, and it's a very different skill set. Like in the retail space, when you've decided on a pricing, for example, that's pretty much done. You're not going to change pricing maybe after a year or two, potentially. Online space, sometimes you have to assess pricing on a daily basis in initial stages. So it has its own challenge, and that's why, absolutely right. Listing is not an issue. Everyone, a 10-year-old kid can list a product on Amazon, or their own website on big data or big commerce or Shopify, or anything of that sort. But it's it's about how to make that tick. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Sahaj, just jumping a little now into high level business, where do you feel entrepreneurship, and I consider you a leader and a successful entrepreneur. So, where do you feel entrepreneurship is headed in our global economy? Because, and I love to ask this question because as we all know, everyone's starting a business, right? I mean, I'm sure tons of people in the UK that are starting a business. All of our parents, our moms, dads, our grandparents, they're all starting companies. All these kids from college, they're all starting companies. So, where do you feel that? Where do you feel entrepreneurship is really headed in the world right
Um,
now?
I have a very big place in my heart and mind for true entrepreneurs. Um, you know, they really have the power and influence to change the world for the better, at the heart of it. And what we've seen in the last 10, 15, 20 years is it's not the big companies that's radically transforming the world. It's the smaller, agile, super hungry companies or entrepreneurs, such as companies that makes a difference. So for me, I feel feels amazing that this is encouraged more and more and more kind of going forward. On the other side of the coin is, as I said, people have kind of seen Gary Vaynerchuk or Richard Branson
Yep, big fan.
or
Yeah.
Elon Musk, and it's like, wow, this is cool, this is awesome, and I want to do that stuff, and they kind of started, and it's not saying have not done that. In fact, when I started my business, kind of moved on from a job to here, I was kind of naive in that similar sense. Like, wow, I'm my own boss. I have like freedom to do everything, but just to find out that you work twice as hard for half the pay that you would have gone in a job.
Yep. So
And
true.
people don't really. It's very difficult to explain or to feel it. What really entrepreneurship is, and, people can go into for different reasons. They have passion for something, freedom, but majority of it is money. And that's why I think the stats, I don't know if how true these stats are, but kind of, I wouldn't be surprised. 60, 70, 80% of the businesses fail in the first 5 years. Um, and
And apparently 90, I think the stats came out 90, it's somewhere between 90 to 95% of startups fail within the first 2 years. Isn't that crazy?
yeah, it's different sectors and different industries have this, but the point,
Yeah.
absolutely, I think the majority of them fail. And it really comes down to, yes, skill set and capability, but also most importantly, the reason why they entered in entrepreneurship in the first place. If their purpose and passion was really, really strong, and to the point, they would found the reason to make it work. And for me, like, even if it fails in the first 2 or 5 years, that is not a failure. That's not a definition of failure. If you don't stand up again, if you don't stand up again, maybe yes, but that's part of the journey. I still remember uh, it was about just over a year in my business, and I was struggling. I was really struggling. I didn't understand the market too well. I was hoping market would be flooded and would running to me for like begging me, like, so I was like, you're awesome, please help me out. It was the other way around. It was, and I remember there's one contract I was really relying on, that was almost filling the bread and butter, bringing food on my table. It was that desperate on with debit, credit cards, and everything. And yes, I could have taken help from family, but part of me just wanted to do it myself. And I got a call. I remember I was on Notting Hill Station, one of the underground stations in London. Very kind of old traditional way style of kind of tube. And I got a call from this client saying, you know what, sorry, the budgets has been changed. We need to park this contract. And that literally, that
Yeah.
was the last moment. That was almost, I failed, a bit of success, I failed. And this was a bit of kind of hope. And then just took me under the ground. And I remember kind of turning around at the corner of the station, with this wooden brick style, and I was crying. It was really, and that's the first time realize it's so hard. It's really very hard, and it's not for everyone. It's because, but that I needed that. I am so grateful for that experience because I needed that because to become who I want to become, I am going through an experience and journey that will help me that. So I had to change as a person. So to your question, where is entrepreneurship going? I think it's going in a great direction, but people need patience with this and have the right reasons to get to it. Gary says it wonderfully. Speed at micro,
Yeah.
patience at macro. Um, in that sense, and so I'm super excited, but it's just a bit of tip and advice for those who are entering into the space. It's super excited. It's hard, but it's rewarding.
That's such a beautiful answer, Sahaj, because I feel I mean, I'm in 100% agreement with you. I got interviewed on another podcast, The Daily Grind, and he asked me that question, and I said something very very similar. There's all these character traits involved in entrepreneur, right? There's a lot of different elements that make you entrepreneurial, but it's not just the knowledge that you have or how smart you are or your capabilities. A lot of it comes down to the fight in you, right? Having this grit. You have to have this grit, this fight to persevere and never give up. And it also comes down to being willing to sacrifice and be patient and know that if you believe in what you're doing and you're consistent with it, right, and you work hard, that you will succeed. You will reach your goals and your dreams. And also behind that is having the right intent. I call them the motive, having the right motive behind what you're doing, not just being in it to make money. And not just being in it to have a name for yourself or to say, oh, I'm a CEO or all these CEO titles you see on LinkedIn. You're on LinkedIn, right? All the time. You see all these CEO titles and founders and everything like that. We all love these titles, but it's more than that. I used to love the titles too when I first started my company 7 years ago, but it's a lot more than that. A lot of it is about what you're doing, how you're providing value to people, how you're changing lives, how you're inspiring, what you're doing how you're impacting the community and the world in a positive way. And these things, all these different motives and purposes behind what you're doing is going to give you that. It's going to give you that authority. It's going to give you that influence to, I think, to make a positive impact in our world. So I love the answer, man. That was
Thank you.
perfect.
And just to kind of, when I started my journey, I didn't knew exactly the path and the purpose that I have today. It's taken me a journey and kind of almost self-finding of coming to this stage. But the important part, if I'm just reflecting back, is just to take a leap of faith and get on with it. And having the right intention. I didn't know specifically
Yep.
what my proposition or proposal is to the market space or how they're going to react, but evolved just because I just want to make a difference. And I can see that in other entrepreneurs kind of learning from that as well. So absolutely, and, and it's, I've been in the business for like 3-4 years now. It's just been a year, like almost a year ago, where I kind of had a light bulb switch, like, oh, that is my purpose, actual purpose. Because even in the early stages of the business, you're focused on the numbers and you kind of want to make it work. You're getting for feedback and you want to make a big difference. But the market will tell
Yeah.
you where you stand. The market is so true. It's always right. It doesn't matter if your product is good or bad. It's always right. It's kind of that feedback. And to come to this place where my purpose is to give hope for good brands to survive in the digital age is a blessing. For every good product like Apple, that thousands and thousands of products don't even come to the shelf. They're better than Apple to some extent. I looked at one of the makers of the phone, where there's that literally if you put on your hand, it just curves and fits on your palm. Like how cool is that?
Mm.
Like we are talking about Samsung and Apple having a curved screen. Like this freaking whole phone curves on your hand. But unfortunately, that's not going to see the light if it's not supported. So for me, the purpose is to connect amazing brands and make the difference that it's born to be. And I really didn't have that purpose when I started. So it just needs patience to evolve into something that you're born to be.
Perfect. Love it. So just to kind of finish things up, close things out, I always ask the three hows. So Sahaj, how do you define failure? And I know you dabbled a little bit into this before, but how do you essentially define failure? How do you define entrepreneurship? And how do you define success?
Okay. Brief answer, I'm assuming. Yes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Failure, I think, is just a state of your thought process, nothing more. It's no physical. It's not about achieving your objective or not achieving your objective. It's just a state of your mind. If you think you have failed, you have failed. If you think you have learned from an experience, you've learned from an experience. So the biggest misinterpretation of the word failure is not being able to achieve your objectives or things or what you aspire to be and not being able to, I wish I had millions and millions, first day of my business. Just exaggerating, but it's just a state of mind rather than anything physical for me. um, and the opposite of that is success. Success is also a state of mind. So every experience, if you build on a block on your experience that goes closer to your vision or mission or purpose in life, that is a success. Um, Eating good food and even enjoying that, or enjoying family time and just being in the moment. For me, success is being in the moment and just appreciating and everything, and just that just again, it's a very state of mind, thought process more than anything else. Entrepreneurship is that's a difficult one to put in few things. um, I think true entrepreneurs is they really want to make a difference. It doesn't matter how small or big. On each individual level, they really want to make the difference and challenge the status quo. That majority of the world just flows. They are born, they flow, they pass away. Entrepreneurs, and it doesn't have to mean that you have your own business. You can do entrepreneurship. It's more of your approach to life. It can
So true.
it can be in a job, it can be in a family life, it can be anything. It depends what. It's more of a state of act. If how to be more, to give more, to do more, and create a legacy in this process eventually. So I think it's a difficult one to explain in a few things, but for me, that is, that's why I admire entrepreneurs very, very high. It doesn't have to be their own business or things, but just the thought process, um, you know, self-motivated, resilient, can-do attitude, and let's make this world a little more better place than when we were born.
Such great answer, Sahaj. I love it. All amazing. Thank you very much for answering those. So where can everyone find you? Your website, social handles?
Yeah, so our company is called Ensere, Ensere.com, Ensere, where they can connect with me, they can know more about how and where we can help brands win in the online space for almost zero setup fees. So I'm super excited. We have built amazing partnership across Europe. Europe is a difficult market with so many different languages. Compared to US, one language, big market. The US is very complex. So super excited with this journey. And again, as I said, super excited with the purpose of helping great brands connect with their customers. So Ensere.com is the best place to know more about.
Okay, perfect. And Sahaj, thank you again for being part of this podcast and sharing your story with us. I'm very thankful. And thanks everyone again for listening. And this is your host, Michael Giorgio on Tales from the Pros. And until next time. Please subscribe to our YouTube page and also follow our social media. There are links somewhere around here. But we really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for all the support. And I'm going to be giving you awesome content continuously. And we look forward to seeing you soon.